This book is the first in a series. Uh, are you close on? Have you started on the new stuff? Do you have like how's that going?
So, book two is fully drafted, and I'm going through my first pass right now. So, book two is now in the editing phase. Book three, I think I know most of what is going to happen. Originally, it was going to be a trilogy. I actually haven't really talked about this yet, but it's going to be 4 books now. Just because as I've been writing it, there's 3 points of view. There is pretty deep world building, and all the threads I've introduced couldn't be wrapped up in 3 books without them being big. And I really like Umbra is 380 pages, like with all, the back matter and glossary and everything.
Mhm.
I like that size. Like, I don't really want to go much over that size if I can help it. I just feel like it's fun and digestible and not intimidating, which was important to me with my debut. And I'd like to keep the books like that, where they're just really fun to pick up and enjoy, and you're not looking at it like I need a full month because this thing is so big. So now it's planned at 4 books.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing to bring up. Of like what I don't think anyone's really concerned about like a long series anymore. I think long series are pretty like you get a lot of those. But I even for books that I really like, um, the length of the book sometimes can be really like even if I really am liking it, it's still a lot to get through. I think about like Brandon Sanderson's books. Like I love a lot of his stuff, but I mean they're like 1,000 pages. I mean that's a lot of stuff to get through.
And that's why I haven't picked those ones up yet. Like, I've read Skyward and Steelheart and Mistborn, the first three. And the other
Hmm.
ones, some of them I'm like, when I have a little more time. Like, that's a commitment, right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I read Way of Kings, which is the first of his Stormlight archive, which I think is like just right at 1,000 pages. And I mean, it took me a couple of months because I'd kind of go in spurts. I'd read like 300 pages, like you know, and then I would take a big break and then I'd jump
Yeah.
back in, you know. So I think that's really smart of you to be thinking about that. Like, how big do you actually want the book to read from the reader's perspective?
Yeah. And of course, I mean, the story is going to be what it's going to be, but that's my aim anyway. Of I want it to be something I'd want to pick up and read, and that it would just be fun.
Hmm. Yeah, I find myself when I do read a big book, I'll take those breaks and then I'll when I take a break, I'll pick up something that's shorter, like a 300-page
Yeah,
book, and read that just to give me like a little
I do that
break.
too. Yep.
Yeah. So, do you have? Is this like a series you want to world like you want to keep building off of, or is it like you're going to write these 4 books and that's like it, and then you move on to something else?
Yes. So this is the one storyline, and I'm not really planning on necessarily doing more with these characters. But like I said, it's like there's 10,000 years of history and all, basically this whole universe that I've built. So I already have my next series idea set in this universe, but it'll be also totally different because that one's going to be science fantasy. So that should be fun, but also it'll still have kind of some of the elements from this world. The idea being it's just a different point in time and a different place in the universe.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cool. Um, how do you? If you know you're going to be wanting to go to 4 books with this, we've kind of talked a little bit about this. Again, in regards to how you got started and wanting to finish this book, but how are you working on staying motivated and disciplined to keep writing them?
I don't know that it's hard, right? Like
Yeah.
I love these characters. Like, drafting is my favorite. So I was super excited to jump back in and get book two draft finished. That's honestly really fun. And it's like, even though I know in general how things are going to go, I want to finish it. Like, I want to know what's going to happen. So again, I just
Hmm.
keep those habits of I'm working on it most days. And that's the other thing I would say too. It's like, I'm not a strict everyday person. I feel like if you show up more days than not, then you're going to make progress. And so, yeah, it's not, I don't know, I haven't run into a motivation problem with it yet because I want to finish it for myself.
Yeah. I think that's
Yep.
important. Like writing a book that you yourself want to read is
Yep.
is really important, I think.
I think so too. Especially, okay, I didn't know this. I didn't know I was going to read it 13 times before I published it. So I
Yeah.
think it like when you think about it that way, it's like if you're not going to enjoy it, reading it a dozen times, maybe that's not the story idea you chase after.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I
Yeah.
want to enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great I've heard of some people who kind of like they'll finish the draft and then they'll just be like super over it or something. And I'm like, I just don't feel that way. I get so excited like I finish it and then I'm like, I just either want to go back and reread it right away or I want to start on the next one or like something
Yeah.
like that. Like I get super pumped.
Me too, on the creation part. But when I'm over it is like the very final edits where I'm like, how is there still a typo here? Like, I just want you to
Yeah.
be clean and done. That's
Yeah.
what I'm over it, but it's more like I'm over the like nitty gritty editing, not the
Yeah.
story.
When
Yeah.
you've looked at it, like I've looked at this 1,000 times and
Yeah.
yet that comma is still in the wrong spot.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my I'm with you on that too about you said about like grammar's not your strong suit. Like the grammar and that like really nitty-gritty stuff, like I'm really gonna need a good editor for that because that's just not my strongest
Same.
point.
I just like the story, guys.
Yeah. I just
Yep.
love the story. I like the planning it out and writing the stuff and putting the scenes together and
Yep.
all that like detail stuff. I'm just gonna really need to hire that out because that's just not my that's not my favorite thing at all.